Couple questions here. Under this bill, segregated confinement is prohibited, correct? If a person's under 21?
Well, they're allowed to be segregated. They're just not allowed to be segregated for 23 hours at a time. So similar to the mental health law exception we have now, if there are reasons where you need to segregate someone from general population, you can, but you're not permitted to do that and deny them the access to other things that they get. So that's what this does.
Okay. So what I'm trying to, is there something in this bill or something in legislation where if they deem it's appropriate for the inmate's safety or for any other reason that they deem appropriate, where they would be able to segregate this person from population?
Yes, they would.
Okay, and where is that contained? Is that in this
bill? It's not, but it's not written in the affirmative, Mr. Graf. It's written the opposite. So it says these are the conditions and these are the circumstances when you can segregate. And one of the things is for the safety and health of the institution and the safety and the health of the individual. So if they felt, for example, that somebody was suicidal, they would be able to segregate that person from others for their own safety, but they would only be allowed to do it for the minimum time necessary.
How about for the safety of other inmates?
Yes,
also?
The safety of the institution, yes.
Okay. Now, the other question is, a lot of times what happens is in a jail setting, this becomes a disciplinary type thing, where the inmate is not conforming with the rules of the jail and stuff, and they might do a short period of time. All right. Aren't we taking away their ability to do take corrective action using a tool that's always been used? Okay, so if it's escalating, they give him segregation for a week, he's not getting it, okay, and then all of a sudden they say fine, now they do it for 2 weeks, they take him out, he's still not getting it, right? I mean, we really be taking this tool away, or should there be some type of allowances for that? For an individual, it's constantly disruptive and it's not sinking in.
Well, Mr. Graf, the problem with your question, as stated, relates to jails. So jails are different than prisons. So I don't know whether or not you want me to address this from the perspective of a place like Rikers, which has pretrial detainees, or you're referring to prisons like Attica. Having said that, for the whole thing, for both of them, it does not prohibit the institution from using punishment as a mechanism to get people to change their behavior. And this bill does not, let me repeat, does not provide any specific number of days limitation on those institutions. So the fact is they continue to retain the power to segregate inmates for the purposes of punishment, but they're only permitted to do it for the least amount of time necessary to protect the institution and the individual.
And who determines what that least amount of time is?
They do.
Okay, and is there any oversight that an inmate can complain and say that they've kept them in confinement too long, or does that just go to the court?
The bill calls for quarterly reports on the use of solitary, including self-harm and suicides as connected to it. Obviously, there would be the power, as there is now, in the courts to say the use that in a particular case it is being overused. I don't believe there's a lot of success currently in the courts for people claiming that solitary is overused, and the courts overturn the administrative judgment of the agency. But it's technically possible.
Okay, so basically what we're trying to do, and correct me if I'm wrong, we're trying to have the conversation going to look at the people that are in charge of our jails and to consider the impact on an inmate. That's what this bill's doing.
Well, the bill tries to conform New York law to the standards of the United Nations. So if that standard, when it was done in another country, we would object to because it's a violative of the UN guidelines, then we shouldn't be doing them in New York. Now, having said that, it does not prohibit the use of segregation, nor does it prohibit the use of punitive segregation.
Okay. Now, does the UN give a prescribed amount of time that you could keep a person in segregation?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the beginning.
Do they prescribe a time that the UN, that a person can be kept in segregation?
That is an excellent question, Mr. Graf. The answer is the United Nations does not, although many people have proposed that there be a strict 15-day limitation. This bill does not do that.
Okay.
It gives the discretion to the agency in question to use their judgment, but it also recommends that it be used for the least period of time possible to guarantee the safety of the individual and the institution.
Okay. Thank you very much, Danny.
You're welcome.